Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, a One Piece podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Franky.
And I'm Robin. Today, we're trekking through the sands of Alabasta with Chapter 162, Adventure in the Sand Kingdom.
And what an adventure it is. They've been walking all day, fighting dehydration, fighting each other, fighting giant lizards, all to reach the oasis town of Yuba. But the look on Vivi's face when they finally get there, that's not relief. That's dread.
Something is fundamentally wrong with the one place that was supposed to represent hope. This chapter is a masterclass in depicting struggle, not against a powerful villain, but against the environment itself. If you're hoping we don't get lost in the lore desert, maybe subscribe to the channel. It's like a compass, pointing right to the good stuff every week.
Super well said. Okay, let's get into it. The chapter opens on just misery. Pure, unadulterated misery. Oda doesn't pull any punches. The sun is beating down, the panels have that wavy heat haze effect, and the entire crew is dragging.
It's a brutal depiction of a desert crossing. You can almost feel the heat radiating off the page. The dialogue is sparse at first, replaced by the sound effect for trudge, trudge, trudge. They're all parched, exhausted, and Usopp, bless his heart, is trying to be the voice of reason. He's rationing the last of their water.
He's doing his absolute best to be the responsible one, the quartermaster of this tiny, suffering army. He's got the canteen out, measuring out tiny little capfuls for everyone, and you can just see the stress on his face. He knows exactly how dire their situation is.
Usopp often takes on that role. He's the most grounded in a certain kind of reality. He understands limitations of supplies, of the human body, in a way that Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji often seem to disregard. He's the one who has to worry because he knows their heavy hitters won't.
And of course, Luffy, with his classic, almost profound lack of foresight, just grabs a barrel and starts chugging. It's not even malicious, it's just pure, uncut Luffy. He's thirsty, there's water, so he drinks. He drinks his share, then Zoro's, then Sanji's. The sound effect is just glug, 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 and you see the water level in the barrel dropping catastrophically.
Which prompts a completely understandable and frankly necessary freak out from Usopp. He goes from 0 to 100. He tackles Luffy, screaming about how that water was for everyone, how it was supposed to last them. This isn't just anger, it's terror. He sees their survival literally being drunk away in a matter of seconds.
This is such a real crew moment. I love it so much because it's not some grand battle for the fate of the world. It's a raw, ugly squabble over resources when everyone's stressed, overheated, and exhausted. Usopp is being the responsible one, and Luffy is just operating on pure impulse. And the thing is, Luffy isn't even really hearing him. He's just like, "But I was thirsty," as if that explains everything.
It's a perfect distillation of their personalities. Luffy lives entirely in the present moment. His needs are immediate and all-consuming. Usopp is constantly thinking about the next step, the next danger, the what if. This conflict was inevitable. It's the friction that comes from these two opposing worldviews being trapped in a pressure cooker.
Zoro and Sanji immediately start going at it too. Sanji's mad at Zoro for letting Luffy drink his share. Zoro tells him to shut up. It's like a chain reaction of frustration. The heat is making everyone's temper shorter. This isn't the cool, collected crew we see when they're storming a castle. This is them at their most human and flawed.
It's a necessary conflict. It grounds them. They aren't mythical heroes gliding through this desert. They're people. They get dehydrated, they get irritable, and they get on each other's nerves when conditions are this bad. It reminds me a bit of the arguments on the Going Merry before they even reached the Grand Line. But the stakes here are so much higher. This isn't about who gets the last piece of meat at dinner. This is about life and death.
And who has to be the one to break it up? Nami, of course. She just walks over and smacks them both with a classic Nami-san haymaker, telling them to cut it out. She's always the adult in the room when it comes to the boys acting like idiots. But you can see even she's at her limit. Her face is flushed, she's sweating, she's just as miserable as they are, but she has to be the one to maintain order.
The fight itself is almost a luxury they can't afford. It expends energy and water they don't have. Vivi just watches them, and the look on her face is break-hearting. She's completely silent through the whole exchange, just watching with these wide, worried eyes.
Man, put yourself in her shoes for a second. Her entire country is dying of thirst, locked in a civil war manipulated by a warlord. She's pinned all her hopes on this chaotic group of pirates, and here they are, her saviors, having a full-on brawl over the last few drops of water. It's a microcosm of the entire Alabasta conflict playing out right in front of her. Two sides fighting over a scarce resource, while the real enemy watches.
That's exactly it. Oda is brilliant for this. He's putting the crew through the same trial the citizens of Alabasta face every single day. He's making sure the crew understands this struggle on a fundamental level. They're not just fighting for Alabasta, they're experiencing its pain firsthand. This isn't an abstract concept for them anymore. They now understand on a cellular level what this lack of water does to people. It makes them desperate. It makes them fight their friends.
So they finally decide to take a break, find a little bit of shade under a rock outcropping, they lay out all their remaining supplies, and for a second it seems like they can catch their breath. They've had their fight, Nami's restored order, and maybe they can reset.
But this is the Grand Line, and more specifically, this is a Grand Line desert. You're never safe. The moment they let their guard down, a group of huge birds, these thieving kites, just swoop down from the sky. Oda draws them to look so opportunistic and menacing.
And they snatch everything. Their food, their remaining water, their supplies, it's all gone in an instant. The crew is just left there, stunned, with empty hands. The one moment of peace they had is shattered.
Luffy's reaction is instantaneous. There is zero hesitation. He doesn't weigh the pros and cons. He doesn't consider his own exhaustion. He just lets out this primal scream and takes off after them. That's our captain. Doesn't matter how tired he is. You do not mess with his crew's food and supplies.
It's his number one rule. Protect your crew and protect the food. He's running full tilt, just a blur on the page. The rest of the crew is still processing what happened, but Luffy is already in problem-solving mode.
He chases them to their nest, which is perched on this tall, rocky spire. But when he gets there, he doesn't just find the birds. He finds a massive desert lizard waiting for him, one of the Sandora great lizards.
The art on this thing is great. It's got this big kind of dopey look on its face with a long tongue lolling out, but it's clearly a monster. It's huge. And to prove its credentials, it just unhinges its jaw and swallows one of the birds whole. Problem solved for the lizard.
The rest of the crew catches up just in time. They see Luffy, they see the giant lizard, they see their supplies in the nest, and there's no panic. There's no bickering now. The switch has been flipped. They just instantly switch into combat mode.
And it is over in a second. It's almost comical how fast it happens. Luffy stretches his arm back for a gum-gum pistol, Zoro is already in the air with his swords drawn, and Sanji is flipping up for a kick. They just dismantle this thing in a single, perfectly coordinated three-pronged attack. It's a perfect example of how even when they're exhausted and at each other's throats 5 minutes earlier, the moment a real external threat appears, they are a flawless fighting unit.
It shows their competence, which is an important thing to reestablish here. After seeing them so vulnerable and human, Oda reminds us that they are still monsters in their own right. A creature that would be a nightmare for any normal person is just Tuesday for the Straw Hat Pirates. It's an effortless takedown.
And of course, their first thought is not about the danger they were just in or the thrill of the fight. It's about dinner. Sanji immediately starts sizing it up, talking about how to cook the meat. That's the Straw Hat way. You defeat a monster, you eat the monster. Problem solved. Their entire supply problem, which seemed so dire moments ago, has just been solved by their combat prowess.
It's a moment of levity, but it's also a crucial survival beat. The desert takes, but the desert also gives, if you're strong enough to take it. They just lost all their supplies, and now they have a new, much larger source of food and, presumably, water from the meat. It's a very direct illustration of the Grand Line's harsh but simple rules. The strong eat.
So while Sanji's getting ready for their lizard feast, they notice something else. A camel just sitting there near the rocks looking completely and utterly dejected.
It's a very sad-looking camel. It's just slumped over, looking like it was abandoned and has given up on life. Chopper, in his role as the crew's doctor and animal whisperer, immediately tries to talk to it, but it won't even respond. It's completely shut down.
The crew is just looking at it, not really sure what to do, but Vivi knows. She walks right up to it, takes out her own personal precious water flask, and offers it a drink, and it finally perks up. It's another one of those small, quiet moments that says so much about her character. She understands this land and its creatures. She knows that what this camel needs isn't just a conversation, it's a simple act of kindness.
This moment is the thematic heart of the chapter. Contrast what Vivi does here with what Crocodile is doing to her entire country. Crocodile is a warlord of the sea, a man of immense power, and he uses the control of water as a weapon to sow chaos and bend a nation to his will. Vivi is a princess with almost no power at this moment, dehydrated and exhausted, and she uses the last of her personal water to save a single sad animal.
Wow, I never thought of it that way, but you're dead on. He uses water as a weapon of mass destruction, and they use it as a gift, even when they barely have any for themselves. It's the difference between a king and a tyrant right there in one small gesture.
It solidifies for the crew why she is worth fighting for. Her compassion is her strength. It's the very soul of Alabasta that they're trying to save.
And, of course, Sanji, being Sanji, immediately falls in love with the camel because it responded to a beautiful woman. He starts calling it Sir Camel and fawning over it. He's so ridiculously consistent.
But Luffy, ever the creative genius, interrupts and gives the camel his official name, Matsuge, which just means eyelashes, because he has long eyelashes. It's so simple, so dumb, and utterly perfect. And just like that, welcome to the crew, Matsuge.
For a little while, at least. This is another one of those core Straw Hat moments. In the middle of a deadly serious mission to save a kingdom from a civil war, they stop everything to rescue a sad camel and give it a silly name. Can you imagine Arlong or Don Krieg doing that? No way. They'd have eaten the camel first thing.
It's who they are. They can't just walk past someone or some animal in need. That innate kindness is the quality that makes them heroes. It's not about the big, flashy fights or the world-shaking ambitions. It's about giving water to a thirsty camel.
It's a sign of their inherent goodness, which, as you said, is a stark contrast to the man they're here to fight. Every action they take, even the small ones, reinforces that they are the antithesis of Crocodile.
So they have their lizard meat, and they've made a new friend in Matsuge. Things are looking up. But the desert isn't done with them yet. The relentless heat finally catches up to the one person you'd least expect, Luffy.
Yeah, he starts acting really weird. He's trailing behind the group and he's seeing mirages. He starts talking about seeing a waving octopus in the distance, and he's got this goofy, spaced out look on his face. Usopp just thinks he's joking around, trying to get a rise out of him, but it's clear something is seriously wrong.
He's hallucinating from heat stroke. His body is finally giving out. And then, without any more warning, he just collapses. His eyes roll back and he passes out cold in the sand.
Seeing Luffy completely down for the count is always jarring. It doesn't happen often. He's the crew's engine, their unstoppable force of will. He's made of rubber. You just assume he's immune to everything. So to see him felled by something as simple and mundane as the sun is a heavy, sobering moment.
It reminds you of his vulnerabilities. He's immune to blunt force and electricity, but he's not immune to the elements. He can be beaten by the world itself, not just by a named enemy with a bounty. It's a reminder that for all his strength, he is still mortal.
But the crew doesn't miss a beat. They don't panic, they don't complain, they just look at each other, and then Zoro and Sanji, the two who are always at each other's throats, wordlessly hoist him up, one on each side, and start carrying him. No complaints, no hesitation. He's heavy, is all Zoro says.
The image of them carrying their unconscious captain across the dunes is so powerful. It's a complete role reversal. Luffy is usually the one carrying the emotional and motivational weight of the crew. He's the one who pushes them forward. Now, they have to physically carry him.
That's the bond, man. That's the whole series right there in one panel. They know he'd do the same for any of them in a heartbeat. He carries them through battles against men like Arlong and Krieg, so they'll carry him through the desert. It's that simple. It's not even a question for them.
Think about it from Vivi's perspective again. She just saw them fighting over water and then effortlessly defeating a monster. Now the man who promised to save her country is dead weight. Her faith in this crew must be undergoing an incredible stress test.
Absolutely. She's seeing them at their most vulnerable, not as the larger-than-life pirates who took down Mr. Five and Miss Valentine, but as a bunch of people just struggling to survive, carrying their fallen leader. It's not a very reassuring sight if you're counting on them to take down a warlord.
And yet, they don't stop. They don't even consider stopping. They just adjust. They carry their captain and they keep walking, following her lead. In a way, that act of loyalty and resilience might be more reassuring than watching him win an easy fight. It shows that the strength of the Straw Hat isn't concentrated in Luffy alone. It's a collective. When one part fails, the others compensate.
They press on. Matsuge, the new MVP, is carrying the women and Chopper, and the rest of the guys are taking turns carrying Luffy. They walk until nightfall. The brutal desert temperature finally drops, and Luffy, of course, wakes up as if nothing happened. He sits up completely fine, and his first words are, "Meat! I want meat!"
Such a typical Luffy recovery. A good nap and a full stomach and he's back to 100% with absolutely no memory of the trouble he caused or the burden he was. Everyone else is still exhausted and he's just ready for the next thing.
And then they see it. Sanji spots them first. Lights in the distance. They finally made it. Yuba. The goal of this entire agonizing journey. The oasis town, the supposed headquarters of the rebel army. This should be a moment of triumph, of relief, the end of the ordeal.
And it is, for a second. Luffy, Usopp, and Choppa are celebrating, jumping for joy. They're screaming, "We're saved!" You feel that relief with them. They survived the desert. But while they're celebrating, Oda focuses the camera on Vivi. She's just staring at the town, and her expression is chilling. It's not relief. It's not joy. It's confusion. And then it's dread.
She says something strange. This isn't right. She can feel it immediately. The place they've risked everything to reach, their sanctuary, is wrong. The reader doesn't know why, but we trust her intuition. She knows this land better than anyone.
And that's where Oda leaves us. That gut punch of an ending. All that effort, all that struggle, the dehydration, the fighting, carrying Luffy across the burning sand, and they haven't found a sanctuary. They found another mystery, another problem. Bro, it is a masterclass in pacing. You feel their exhaustion, you feel their momentary relief, and then Oda yanks the rug out from under you with that immediate snap back to tension.
It completely recontextualizes the whole chapter. The journey was the trial, but the destination is the test. Yuba was their North Star, their beacon of hope, and now that they're here, it might be a black hole. The struggle isn't over, it's just changing form.
Okay, but let's break this down. Think about what this means for the rebellion. Vivi's entire plan hinged on reaching Yuba. If Yuba, their home base, has been compromised, where is Koza? Where is the rebel army?
Did Crocodile get here first? Is this a trap? The possibilities are all grim. Vivi's plan was to meet Koza here, tell him the truth about Crocodile and Dance Powder, and convince him to stop the rebellion before it tears the country apart. If he's not here, her entire strategy falls apart. She has no way to contact the rebels.
They're in the heart of enemy territory with no allies in sight. Their one potential ally might be gone, or worse, might have already been defeated or driven out. The stakes just went from survive the desert to our entire mission might be a failure before it even starts.
The Sand Kingdom is proving to be even more treacherous than they imagined. The physical danger of the desert was one thing, but this is different. The danger isn't just the heat and the giant lizards, it's the deception, the manipulation. Crocodile's influence is everywhere.
Man, what a chapter. It's 90% setup, all journey and struggle, but that final page, that final panel of Vivi's face, makes it all worth it. It's an incredible cliffhanger. I can't wait to see what's waiting for them in that town.
The state of Yuba is a complete mystery. If you have a theory about what happened to the town or what Vivi is seeing that the others aren't, let us know in the comments. We'd love to read your thoughts and speculations.
All right, let's get to it. Predictions for Chapter 163. What do you think is waiting for them in Yuba? I'll go first. Prediction 1. Yuba is completely buried. Crocodile, knowing it was the rebel base, didn't bother with a frontal assault. He just used his sand fruit powers to just sink it, drown it in sand. The lights they see are just the tips of a few remaining buildings on the verge of being completely swallowed by a sandstorm he created and left behind. A tomb of sand.
That's incredibly dark and very in character for Crocodile. My first prediction is a bit different, perhaps more insidious. I think Yuba isn't destroyed. It's just empty, completely abandoned. The lights they see are real, but it's a ghost town. And the reason is that the oasis, the town's central well and its only reason for existing, is bone dry. Crocodile didn't need to destroy the town with force. He just took away its lifeblood. He killed it quietly. It's a much more psychological kind of attack.
Ooh, that's cold. I like that. Okay, my second prediction, they find one person left in the town, an old man who turns out to be Koza's father, Toto. He stubbornly stayed behind when everyone else left. He'll be the one to tell them that Koza and the rebellion were forced to move because the town was dying, and he'll give them a clue to their new location, probably the city of Catarea, which we've heard mentioned. He's the classic quest-giving NPC.
That connects well to mine. My second prediction is that we will indeed meet Toto, but he won't know where the rebels went. He'll just be this tragic, solitary figure, a man stubbornly digging in a dry well, clinging to a sliver of impossible hope. He won't be a source of information. He'll be a symbol, the living embodiment of the dying hope of the nation. He'll be the face of Alabasta's suffering, meant to fuel the Straw Hats' resolve.
Brutal. I love it. All right, my last one is a bit of a stretch, a real left field idea. The something wrong Vivi senses is that Mr. 2 Bon Clay is already there. Baroque Works knew they were coming to Yuba, so Bon Clay is there using his clone powers to impersonate Koza. He's waiting to welcome them, gain their trust, and lead the Straw Hats and Vivi right into a massive Baroque Works trap. The entire town is a setup.
That would be a terrifyingly effective plan, playing on their hopes perfectly. It would fit the theme of deception we're seeing. My final prediction is this. The town itself is a mirage. Not a natural desert mirage, but one created by a devil fruit user. We know Miss Goldenweek is still out there somewhere, and her powers are based on affecting people's perceptions through color. Perhaps she is capable of creating a large-scale illusion. The lights are fake, the buildings are an illusion, and they're about to walk into an ambush in the middle of the empty desert, thinking they've finally reached safety. It would be the ultimate cruel trick,